Hello, it's Hekar here, and on this video I'm going to cover how to tune your string instrument using some very easy to find and free phone apps. Whether they are on an iPhone platform or an Android platform, there are many apps that can be found on both. They are free and they're actually very easy to use. Now, before you get started using these apps, make sure you know how to safely turn the pegs on your instrument. If you haven't done this before, please watch the previous video where I cover that. It's called Adjusting Violin, Viola, or Cello Pegs Safely. I will leave the link on the description. Okay, so the app that I'm using exists on both Android phones and Apple phones. So it makes it very easy for me to demonstrate how to tune a violin, for example, that has never been tuned. So if you are a beginning student or if you are a parent of a music student, this app is perfect in this case because it doesn't give you too much information. It gives you exactly what you need and it's very easy to read. This is called, again, Pano Tuner. I will leave the name listed on the description. Now, as you can see, the dials are moving around while I'm talking because these apps are designed to measure the vibration of any sound that they capture through the phone's microphone. In this case, it's my voice. So every time that I say something, it's trying to measure the note of my voice. Any sound, whether it is loud, soft, short, long, whether it comes from a truck or a guitar, it has a note. It has a pitch, which means it has a frequency. What does that mean? A frequency is the amount of vibrations per second, and that's what these apps measure. In this case, we are tuning musical instruments, right? So musical instruments are designed to provide a very predictable pitch. The pitch is a standardized amount of vibrations per second. We're going to need to know this number as we tinker with the tuners of the violin, viola, or cello. So let's get started. This particular violin is brand new and the strings are completely loose. So this is the first time I'm going to tune this. This is perfect to illustrate how these work because even if you don't play a musical instrument, even if you are completely unfamiliar with how musical instruments work or how to even tune them, using this app and paying attention to three very simple parameters, you will be able to know exactly how much to tighten the strings so that you can be in tune. Okay, so first we need to know the names of the notes that the strings need to be tuned at. This string is the first one that we're going to tune. This string is the second one from the right. We call this the A string, letter A. And as you can see, well, this is extremely loose. I would not want to play the violin this way. So let's start with the pegs. You want to use the pegs for big adjustments, and you want to use the fine tuners here, the small buttons, for very small adjustments. The pegs require some practice. There are certain ways to hold it so that you can do it safely. If you've never done this before, please watch my previous video where I talk about in detail how to properly hold the violin, hold the pegs, hold the scroll in a way that you will safely turn the peg. Because if you don't know how to do it, you might turn it too much and you might break the string, you might break the bridge, or you might get the peg stuck on the peg box. So what I'm going to do here on the pegs, it's already covered on that video. I will leave the link on the description. Okay. So let's tune the A string. So that's one piece of information that these apps are going to tell you. All these revolving letters, those are the possibilities for the notes that you want your strings to acquire. And also, you have a small number underneath. That number is the frequency. We're going to be looking at that number to make sure that we have the correct amount of vibrations per second. Now, most musicians, I myself, we don't really look at this because we tune our instruments partly by ear. We already know kind of what the strings are supposed to sound like, and that gives us a general idea of whether we are in the same range of tension for the string. But if this is your first time doing it, let's use the frequency marker to make sure that you don't over tighten the string, or that you end up on the wrong, as we call it, the wrong octave for the string. More on that later. If you're interested in learning more about this, I will cover how musical notes work and how the Western musical scale works, so that you can understand how the tuners work and how the instruments tuning was thought of. I will give you the set frequency for each note that we tune. A on a violin, because it's different for cello or bass or whatever instrument you're tuning, but on the violin, the A is exactly 440 hertz. 440 hertz. So that's the number that we want to make sure we see on this dial right here. So let me start cranking this. So I'm gonna constantly pluck this as I adjust it, because I want to keep feeding sound to the apps so that they can have something to measure. Okay, it's telling me that this is an A, but it's the wrong kind of A. Let me do it again. The dial says that I'm somewhere in the 221, 19. It moves around a lot. But in the 200 range, that's a different kind of A. That's what we're going by, the frequency. This is not the right kind of A. So I need to go further. We need to find 440 hertz. Remember, I only turn the peg by very small increments. That's a C, not there yet. That's an E, not there yet. We're just going through the ABCs. That's almost an F, not there yet. Okay, G flat, not there yet. I'm seeing an A right there. We're getting pretty close, and look at the frequency. 384, so we're getting closer to 440. I'm gonna keep cranking it. 397, 417. Okay, we're getting closer. A, 423 ish. 432, almost there. Oops, I went past it. It says 450. Yeah, that's too tight. So now, but I'm in the range. I'm pretty close. So what I'm gonna do is that once I'm pretty close, I'm gonna adjust it with the fine tuners, because now that the dial is dancing around the A note, I can now do small adjustments. So remember, you got to keep plucking this all throughout. Make sure you're always telling the tuner where you are. There you go. It says 440 and some change. We're going to leave it like that for now, because it'll change as soon as I start adjusting the other strings. Remember that the tailpiece is not really fixated onto the violin body with anything as much of a screw or nail to it or glue to it. It's simply held together by this cord. And it means that as soon as I increase the tension on this side, the tailpiece is going to move this way. And as soon as I start adjusting these strings, the tailpiece is going to move further this way. Okay, so the tuner says that this is 170 something and some change, but we need 293. So let's look for that. I'm going to keep on cranking this. Pluck it every time you crank it, so that you can hear how far it's going, and so that you can feed the tuners the sound they need to measure. Now remember, we're looking for D, so we're not quite there yet. Now we're in the 200 range, but not even close to D. Let's keep cranking it. Okay, so I see a D there somewhere in the screen. Okay, we're within the range, and you see We're also close as far as vibrations. 270 something, 76, 77. So we're looking for 293. Okay, we're very close now. I think we can start using the fine tuner at this point. So let's pluck it. 92-ish, almost. 93. There we go. Okay, let's move on now to the G. By the way, the order in which I'm tuning it should be the order in which you tune it as well. This is just how orchestral instruments are tuned because of the reasons I mentioned of what the tailpiece does. And this is the best way to compensate for that. So tune the lower tension strings first and then the high tension string, and then check it again. And if needed, check it one more time. Okay, so now G. Oh wow, this is, yeah, really loose. Okay, so let's start with the G. The frequency for the G is 196 hertz. 196. So let's look for that. Okay, we're at 120-ish. 117, it went down. 147. 165. Oh, 195. We're very close. So we are at a G letter. Let's look for 196. I'm going to start using the fine tuner for this. Oh, I missed it. Went right past it. I'm still a little high. Boom, there you go. We'll leave it like that because we still need to tune the E string. And once we tune this one, this is going to make the tailpiece move this way, and it'll set these strings slightly out of tune, and we need to readjust them. So I'm not worried about that much precision yet. Okay, here comes the E. Now, a lot of tuners are very finicky with this one. It depends on the quality of the microphone of the phone. Phones are generally not going to have recording studio quality microphones. They're just phones, right? So some apps have trouble capturing the exact frequency of this because this E string is pretty high. Meaning the frequency is very high. It vibrates very fast. Sometimes some tuners will measure half of what it's supposed to be, and it doesn't sound like that. So it might get confusing, but let's try this. E, let's see what this app will do. Okay, so remember, grasp it very firmly. Keep plucking it. 340 something. 430 something. I did not mention this. The E note is 659.3 hertz. That's what we're looking for. So let's see if we can get there. $500. Very nice. Okay. 575. Okay, yeah, we're getting there. This tuner is actually pretty good. Okay. Oh, I went too far. This is supposed to be 659. No, too far down. Okay, 645. I think that's close enough for me to start using the fine tuner. So I'm going to tighten it to make the number higher. Oops. Okay, I guess I wasn't as close as I thought, so I'm going to crank this up a little bit. 680. Oh wow. Okay, now I have to crank this down. 673. 669. Let's make it go all the way to 659. Oh, I'm one number away. Okay, went past it. See how fast this can change? 656. Oh no, it's not 329. Come on. Oh. Did we get it? We are one vibration away. Oops. I'm so close. There we go. There we go. Okay. So now let's recheck. A first. Yeah, it moved all right. This is supposed to be 440. Let's get it back. Nope. More. Nope. More. Now remember, this is taking a while because this is a brand new violin. That's just how it is when you get these the first time. Okay, we're at the 400 range. Almost. Okay, 447. $440. Okay, now D, this is supposed to be 293-ish. Now I'm cranking it from one hand because I've been doing this for years and years and years, and with practice you learn these other ways of tuning it, which I will cover later. But if you're starting out, remember, it's safest if you hold it with both hands. 267, 280, almost there. 291. Okay, now fine tuner time. There we go. 293-ish. That's great. Okay. Now G. This is supposed to be 196. So let's see what it tells us. Okay. 172. Not that far. Now I'm cranking the fine tuner. See it increase? Oh, I went past it by one vibration. There you go. The more you do this, the more you're just going to rely on the letters and the placement of the needle. You can see that there's a spot on the top, this other ruler area, where it either turns red, well, it looks kind of orangish from here, or green. You want it to be green, and you want it to be right at the center. So let's check it one last time. So now the strings are closer to the tension where they need to be. Let's do one final run through. Okay, let's turn it up to 440. Now remember, the more you do this, the more your ears are going to get accustomed to how it's supposed to sound. The more by ear you're going to do it, and the less you're going to need to think about the specific frequency numbers. I don't really know that many colleague musicians who think about the frequency numbers when they're using one of these tuners. In fact, the more advanced you are, the more likely it is that you're going to just tune by ear. And you can get very accurate tunings just by ear, because it takes time, it takes practice. But remember, this video is intended for beginning students or parents so that they can keep their instruments in tune, especially now that we are on a stay-at-home order and are unsure of how much longer this is going to be. If you have an instrument at home and you can't tune it, that's one of the most frustrating things, because it doesn't matter if you're doing everything right, as your teacher told you, it's still going to sound wrong if it's not in tune. So This is why we're doing this. Later on other videos I will show you more advanced ways of tuning by ear if you're a more advanced player. So for now, we're using actual numbers so that we can make sure we are on the correct vibration amount. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this on a viola. The viola has a very similar tuning to a violin, but it has an extra C string, which is a lower sounding string, meaning lower frequency, and it has no E string anymore. The string names are A, D, G, C. And the A string is the same frequency as a violin, which is 440 hertz. The D, same thing as a violin. G, same thing as a violin. So 293.7, 196. The C string, the new one, is 130.8, ideally. Most of the time, you want to get really, really, really close. For all intents and purposes, it's always better to tune it by ear, but it is a more advanced thing to do. Right now, since we're doing this with an app that tells us what the frequencies are, we're just going to go by that because this is the most universal way to find the correct vibration. Okay, so let's get started with the A string. Again, I'm grasping the scroll firmly before I even move the peg. I'm going to pluck the A string. It says 411. We need 440. So I'm going to tighten this. 426. 437. Almost there. Oh, I went past it. 447. So now it's up to the fine tuner to do this. Almost there. Remember, keep plucking it so that you can feed the right information to your phone. 440. There you go. I'm not going to get super picky about it because I still need to tune these. And remember, the tailpiece is suspended. Well, not really suspended. The tailpiece is only held together by this cord. We call this the tail gut adjuster. So let's go to the D string. The D string is supposed to be 293.7 hertz. So let's see where we are. We're pretty close. It's 285, but it still needs to be cranked up a little bit. Oh, that's 300. Too far, but not by much. 294. We need 293. We are so close. I'm gonna crank it back a little bit. Now these pegs don't turn as smoothly as I would like. They need some maintenance. I'm gonna make another video tutorial telling you how to do that, showing you how to do that. It's very simple. You just have to pull the peg out and apply this little compound, this little substance that acts a lot like grease, and it allows the peg to turn smoothly. In this case, I'm just going to bear with it. It's still kind of workable, so I'm going to get it as close as I can. 285. Get in there. 293 we're looking for. Oh, I passed it. So what I'm going to do is that this is an old trick where you can just stretch the string into being in tune. When you have difficult pegs like that, sometimes this works. .294. See, all I'm doing is that I'm putting opposing pressure between thumb and index. 294. It's supposed to be 293.7. We're getting really close. Man, I wish I had fine tuners for this one right now. If the pegs were working well, I wouldn't need to, but this is where fine tuners would have been really nice. Oh, that's really close. Okay, I'm gonna wait till I tune all the others to really get picky about it. Now, this is supposed to be G at 196 hertz. We are at 183. Okay, so I'm gonna crank it. Okay, almost there. 92. 195 and almost. Tiny adjustments, remember. Tiny movement. 197, I passed it just for a hair. Whoa. 196 point something. That's close enough. I'm gonna go ahead and tune the C string. Wow, that's 104. We're supposed to be at 130. Okay. Something 127. Oh, we're really close. 131. I passed it a little bit, not by much because it's 130.8, but I'm gonna recheck. Remember, you have to check several times because string instruments are just finicky like that. Okay, yeah, see, that went lower. So I'm going to use the fine tuner for this. .440 is our goal with this one. Okay, I went past it a little bit, but I got to check the other strings as well. 293. Oh, wow. How about that? 293. Okay. I'm going to leave it like that. 293. That's the correct frequency. It's supposed to be, if you want to be really precise, it's 293.7. But at a student level, and being a parent or being a beginning student, I wouldn't recommend you going for the most precise possible. A lot of the times the instruments have limitations, especially if they are the more economic instruments. So don't worry about not getting exactly by the decimal number. By the, as long as you are on the correct whole number, 293, that's good enough. This is supposed to be 196. So let me crank it up. Okay, I passed it a little bit. 196. Let's crank it up a little bit more. Oh boy, I just keep on missing it, huh? 196 point something. There you go. Okay, let's adjust this one. This is supposed to be 130. Oh, I passed it. 130. Almost. 131. I'm gonna do that old trick of just stretching the string by pulling against itself. Oh, perfect. There you go. Okay, good. Wow. Okay, I can tell that some of the strings went out of tune, but then again, you have to check and recheck. The more advanced you get, then the more used to you're gonna get to just listening for it. And the moment you can do that, this becomes so much faster. using these apps works, but ideally, this is a listening art, and you need to build the skill of knowing how high and how low the pitch is by ear. And once you can do that, your life is going to get so much easier, because you can tune an instrument like this in a matter of seconds if you know how to do it by ear. And again, that takes a lot of practice. After you have a considerable amount of experience playing the instrument, you'll be able to do that. So that's how you tune a viola. Next in line, the cello. Okay, so let's do this with the cello now. The names for the cello strings are actually the same ones as the viola. You have A, D, G, and C. However, the frequencies are different. For the cello, this is A, 220. This is D, 146.8. This is G, 98 hertz. This is C, 65 hertz. So let's look for those. Now, just like the violin and the viola, you want to make sure that you're grasping the peg box and the scroll quite firmly before you start turning the pegs. Okay, so let's see what the app says. I'm plucking the A string. You always start with the A string. 181, and we need 220. So this needs to be tightened up. Remember, small increments. Don't just start twisting it away. Very small increments. As soon as it moves a little bit, then stop. Okay, 194, we're getting closer. Closer, we're in the 200 range now. We need 220, we're getting there. 218. 222, I went past it. Okay, so let's use the fine tuners for that. Now, wow, this is the cello. The cello uses quite a little bit more room. Okay, so here's a fine tuner for the cello. Oops. Yeah, 220. It's a little high because there's a little extra there. It's 220 and some change. Yeah, there we go. That's very close. All right, let's continue with the other strings. Let's continue with the D string. D string, that is 146.8. 126. 146.8. Come on. Okay, 147. Okay, we're very much there. Time for a fine tuning session. Remember, you gotta keep plucking. Okay, that's pretty close. 146. Now G, that's supposed to be 98 hertz. And he's telling us that it's 77. Okay, we gotta crank it up. Now I'm gonna hold it on the opposite side. I'm gonna hold it on the opposite side and pluck with my left hand instead. And I'm gonna adjust the peg with my left hand. 98 we're looking for. We're looking for 98. Oh, there we go. I went past it a little bit. Okay. Oh, car accident lawyers. Yes, good to know. All right. It's still too high. 98. Okay, that's pretty close. Time for the C string. Oh wow. This is supposed to be 65 and it's all over the place, and that's normal because the C string has very low tension right now. But let's fix that. 50. We're looking for 65, so we're getting there. Getting there. Almost. Almost. 64. Ooh, that's ever so close. I'm gonna use the fine tuner for that. There we go. Okay, so remember, you gotta recheck. The more you tune your instrument, the more often you do it, the faster it is to tune it each time. So go through all the strings several times, and that is the best way to keep your instrument in tune. The more you practice, obviously the more you need to tune it, and therefore the better in tune it'll stay. The easier it'll be to tune it. So in other words, what am I trying to say? Practice, 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 practice. Okay, so that's it for the cello. I hope that this video was informative and very helpful to you. And if you know somebody that might benefit from watching this, please share this video. Thank you for watching the Strings Learning channel. This is Seca Rivera. Stay in tune for my next video.